On the next episode of Neighborhood Preppers, everything you need to know about Get Home Safe Bags. Coming up next. Welcome, everyone, to Neighborhood Preppers. I'm Alton James, joined by the man himself, Mr. Bobby Riggs Jr. Talk to him, buddy.
Alton James, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Beautiful day here in Michigan. Thankfully, no more snow. I think that's a thing of the past now for a while. So, outside enjoying this beautiful Memorial Day. Just excited, man. You know how excited I've been about this podcast.
Definitely.
This is my baby, man. This is what got me into prep, and this was the first thing that I started doing. So, super excited about the Get Home Safe Bag. I can't wait to go through all this stuff. I absolutely love this. I love building these for people. These are presents that I try to give to a couple people every single year for Christmas. So, super excited to do this podcast and just give some people some information. We've already been getting messages, man. Keep them coming. That's awesome. I had a couple people reach out. One guy already reached out about building a Get Home Safe Bag. So me and him are working together. We're going to get some cool gear for him, and super excited to get to work, man. So
nice. So I know that when you got started with prepping, Get Home Safe Bags were your first things. But before we get started, tell everybody first, what is a Get Home Safe Bag?
Well, a Get Home Safe Bag is exactly as the title would explain. It is a bag that is going to get you home safely if you're stranded on the road, if you're out in your vehicle. You know, we spend a lot of time in our vehicles and away from our homes. Unfortunately, people working 40 hours a week or more. And, you know, here in the United States, on average, you can be anywhere from 16 to 20 miles away from your home on a typical drive. That's a long ways, you know, so definitely getting home safe. You want to have the tools and everything you need to make sure that that is possible because, you know, depending on what happens, you may not have access to your cell phone. You know, if there's some kind of EMP attack or, God forbid, another terrorist attack like we saw on 9/11, you know, New York's, their cell system was completely used up. People couldn't make emergency phone calls. And unfortunately, this is a reality that we live in every single day. And so you can't always rely on that technology. We have to have other options. The Get Home Safe Bag, not to be confused with a bug out bag. That is something we will talk down the road. Bug out bags, much, much different. This is mine right here. This is a monster. This has everything that I need to live out on my own for about 2 weeks. So not to be confused with that. What we're focusing on is getting home safe, and that's the key with the Get Home Safe Bag. So let's dive in, man, because I'm so excited.
Definitely. So you talked about how it's everything you would need to get home safely if you were stranded. Obviously, we know the basic needs of people are food, shelter, and clothing. Food obviously includes water. But if you had to narrow it down, what are the 5 or 6 top things that every, you know, Get Home Safe Bag should have?
You know, right off the top, you want to have, just like you said, you got to make sure that you're going to give yourself some calories. You're going to get yourself some water. Water is key. Don't forget the rules of 3. I don't know if you've heard those before, but you can go 3 minutes without air. You can go 3 weeks without food, and you can go 3 days without water. You know, and when you start talking about walking, right now we got a nice little heat. It's super hot out. You're going to want water. That's super important. So definitely the calories and the food. Water is going to be key. You got to make sure you have enough. And it's not always about just having that water filtration. A lot of people like to get those water straws. Those are awesome, but then you're still looking for the water to drink it from. So, you know, you don't want to have a huge heavy metal water bottle that you have to lug around and try to fill. So I'm going to get to some of the pouches in a little bit. But warmth. If you're somewhere that's going to be cold, If you're going to get cool at night, you definitely want to have something to start a fire, mylar blankets to keep you warm. So anything that's going to give you warmth. You also want security and tools like a knife. You know, if you carry a firearm, that's always key. Make sure you do so legally. You also want to have light. You don't want to be walking in the dark. You can get tripped up, you can get hurt. And of course, our first aid kit. You know, accidents happen all the time. My first aid kit gets used more than anything in my get home safe bag because I have kids. So we go to the park, we're having a normal day, kids wipe out. I got it right there in my car. I can go back and we're going to dive in. There's so much awesome stuff in these kits. Everybody should build one. Everybody should have a get home safe bag. Whether you consider yourself a prepper, whether it's just an idea, everybody should have. But before we jump into this bag, let's talk about just the safety of our car, right? You know, I know we've talked before about some of the things that you have, so why don't you fill us in on what's important to you to keep in your vehicle or just have on your vehicle?
Sweet. Yeah. So I always want everyone to think within the confines of the grid still operating and everything being fine, not just the extreme cases where the world is, gone to shit. So one of the things that I do basically, I have AAA card.
Exactly.
So if I have to get towed, I can call quickly. I leave supplies in my car for changing the tire, to jack the car if I need to, obviously. But I also have a little electrical kit in my car as well that has all the tools for switching out fuses in my car. Let's say a fuse went bad. I still have extra fuses, extra electrical wires and things of that nature if I had to do those type of things. But one of the things that you always talk about, Bobby, is knowing your environment and thinking about your environment. So a couple other things that I always have: a shovel, especially in the winter.
Very smart.
I have a full-on comforter blanket, not just a Mylar blanket, a full-on comforter blanket. I have the spray for the windshield de-icing. I always want to be able to get ice off the car quickly, especially if it's a blizzard coming or I don't have time or whatever the circumstances may be. You want to get ice off the car very quickly. So those are just some of the basic things that I think about when about getting home safely. So
that's awesome, man. And those
Yeah.
are all great. You know, obviously if you can afford to have the AAA package, that is awesome. That is a great service. My dad has it and he has bailed me out a couple times. I'm not going to lie. You know, he has bailed me out. But that's a great thing to have. Making sure that you know how to change a tire. If you don't, or if it's something that's difficult for you, practicing, checking and making sure that your tire iron, you're going to be able to actually use it when the time comes. A lot of the cars nowadays, unfortunately, they give you that cheap little one that's like this big and they expect you to pry that. Come on now, it ain't going to happen. Whenever I take any kind of significant road trip, especially when I'm with my family, I always put the big one in, always, just because it's going to be easier if I'm with my family. You want to make sure you can do that. Another thing, especially here in Michigan, but also for people who live in area where you may be driving off-road or on dirt roads and stuff, salt, kitty litter, or sand. In icy and snow situations, it's really going to help you get some traction and get out of ditches, get some traction on with snow and ice. But also if you get, if you're off-roading, if you're up north, as we like to call it here in Michigan, anytime you get stuck in that muck and mire, that's going to help you get that traction and get out. And that's really important. I love that you said a shovel. That is key, especially here in Michigan where we can sometimes see, 6 inches to a foot of snow.
Definitely.
So another thing, fix a flat. Sometimes it's just that simple, especially if you don't feel like you can change that tire yourself, or if your car for some reason doesn't have a spare tire. Making sure that you get that fix a flat that can maybe buy you a couple extra miles so that you can get to where you need to go. Jumper cables, you talked about that a little bit. But one thing that I also want to touch on is making sure that you have backup shoes. Now, I see you outside. You always got your fancy kicks on. Both of our wives,
Right.
they're business attire. So if in a situation they do have to walk, even if it's not far, even if it's just to the closest gas station or something like that, they do not want to be doing it in the high heels. So I always recommend that everybody put an extra pair of tennis shoes in the back of their car just in case, a situation arises where they have to get out and start walking. They're not doing so, in high heels or dress shoes that were comfortable. And if you do live in a place that sees extreme cold weathers, making sure you have extra layers in there, maybe putting an extra coat or a hoodie or a zip up or something. Even if you walked out the door and you're like, all right, I got my shirt on, I got my coat on, I'm good to go, and you walk out, that's a whole lot different than if you are walking, 10 to 20 miles, and you're freezing. So you want to make sure you have those layers when the time comes, possibly boots if the winter comes, if you do have to get out and do other things. So in your car, just make sure you have those extra things because those are going to stay in your car at all times, especially during different seasons and everything else. We're also not taking into account our everyday carry. Now, me and you, we always joke and talk about our everyday carry. We love our pocket knives.
Definitely.
It's funny. We'll be talking to each other over the fence, and we're like playing with them in our pockets. We're like little kids.
Exactly.
You always have one on you. You probably got
I
it right
surely
now, don't
got
you?
it in my pocket. Here we go.
Yeah, there you go, right here. I always got my pocket knife on me. My pocket knives for me are I change them with the outfit, man. I got so many different pocket knives. I mean, I got one for every day of the week. I love my pocket knives. I got
That's
them
priceless.
that match that match the outfit, as they say. I got a whole bunch of them. I got different ones for different jobs. But what a lot of people forget about is, especially if you are somebody who carries a pocket knife, and me and you are big online purchases, and they get set on your porch, and you walk in and you cut, and you can cut a whole bunch of them in a day. Making sure that you're keeping your knife sharp. A dull knife does no good, right? Because when the time comes and you need to cut something significantly stronger than cutting that tape that's on the top of the Amazon box, you want your knife to be sharp. So make sure you're keeping up on it. Make sure you're keeping those knives sharp so that if the time comes where you do have to cut your paracord or carve a stick or anything that you're going to need to do, your knife is sharp enough to do so. But our everyday carries, your wallet, making sure you don't leave home without it, making sure you have identification, your ID. For me, I do have my CPL card, so it's really important that I always have that on me. I double check it and make sure it didn't fall out of my wallet, because if I am carrying my firearm and I don't have my CPL license on me, I can be arrested and go to jail. So your wallet, your ID, your insurance card. If you called AAA and you didn't have those numbers, although you're a genius, so you probably got yours memorized. I know you do. But small amount of cash, right? You were telling me a story the other day. Go ahead and tell everybody. You don't like to carry what?
I do not carry much cash. Very little, because at the end of the day, pretty much every legitimate business, you're going to be able to use a card.
Yeah.
And so what I don't do is I don't carry debit cards at
Okay.
all. And I always have my credit card number memorized. My
Awesome.
primary credit card that I'm always going to use. So if I needed to in a pinch, I could give someone that number. Let's say my wallet was stolen. And so if somebody decided to catch me off guard and try to hold me up, and they were like, "Give me your wallet." It's like, "Here you go. You're not going to get much from it
Right.
because you don't have direct access via debit card." I'm going to call and cancel my credit card immediately. And one of the other protections that's still within the grid, I have a service LifeLock, and
Awesome.
as well as other identity protection stuff with some of my employer and stuff like that. So
Those are
uh,
great things.
absolutely, and so I don't worry about it. It's obviously you have to worry about things in general, but that's one of those things that gives me a little bit of peace of mind to say, hey, I know if something hit the fan like that, that I could make sure that I was taken care of and I would still have access to funds to get out of any emergency situation.
That's awesome. You know who make awesome preppers? Women. Because
Yes.
those purses, man, like they reach in those purses and they're like, here's my wallet, here's a small ladder, here's an umbrella.
Exactly.
I just lost one of my kids here. Like they carry everything. Like there is as a prepper, there's like a little bit of jealousy. They just got that thing on them at all times. Like, and I'm just like, my God, they have everything. I love having the opportunity to wear like my cargo pants and stuff like that because I can load up my pockets. But making sure you have your wallet, small amount of cash, that's a great idea. I do teach self-defense, and having that wallet and having a small amount of cash, and even with your credit cards and stuff, I always tell people, if you are in a situation where you're being robbed, never hand it over to them. Throw it off to the side. Because if their intent is to rob you, then they're going to walk away and they're going to go get it, and that gives you an opportunity to get away. So just something, a little free tip there. Never hand over your wallet or even your purse, ladies. Just toss it off to the side. If that's really what they want, they're going to go get it, which is going to give you an opportunity to get away. Your phone, we never leave home without them. It's 2020. You got to have your phone for emergency phone calls. I have such a love-hate relationship with the cell phone, because it's like the world we live in, everybody's got their nose. Put them away when you drive. Focus on what you're doing. But it is important to have them. It will, in a pinch, it'll, help you get out of a sticky situation. You can call 911. You can call, your AAA. You can use it with Google Maps or, the iPhone Maps or whatever it is that you have to help you. But you always want to have a backup plan also, and we're going to get to that with our Get Home Safe bag in a second here. But your phone is important, especially in today's day and age. If you are going on a significant drive, not just up to the corner store, and you leave the house and you realize like, oh, I forgot my phone, just go back and get it, because it's going to take you far less time to just turn around and go grab your cell phone than it is to unfortunately get to where you're going and not be able to need it when you need it. So and again, if you are a CPL, if you are a firearm carrier, you want to make sure that you have all the precautions that you need to carry a firearm, whether that be your outside of the waistband holster or whatever you're going to holster. I got my little 380. This is what I usually carry most of the time. This is what I carry when I go out and about, and because it's just lightweight. I have other firearms that I use for my job and stuff because I work security, but when I'm going out and about, it's a nice little firearm that I can holster inside the waistband. But again, I have to make sure if I'm going to be holstering a firearm that I have my identification and my CPL card. So those are all things that I have to make sure I double check before I walk out the door.
Definitely.
Our Get Home Safe bag. Here it is, man. I've been waiting for this. I'm so excited. So our Get Home Safe bag. My Get Home Safe bag, a nice little black backpack. I got this on a website. I redid my backpack about 4 years ago, so I got this one. It was about $28. You want to make sure you get one that has at least a couple different pockets. You can get backpacks that are just the one big pouch, and they have a lot of space in them, which looks really nice. I can fit a lot of stuff in there, but the problem is with the big pouch is you start piling stuff in, and then it's hard to get to the stuff on the bottom. So I do like to have one. Mine has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 2 inside. So I like to have options so that I can kind of organize it. Go ahead and hold yours up that we just made for you, Alton.
Yeah, it's great. So it's a black bag as well. A lot of compartments, as you said. It's super important for organization, having a lot of different pouches and pockets, because in an emergency, you want to know where things are and get to them very quickly. So obviously, we talked about food, survival tabs.
Yes.
In my front pocket.
I got my survival tabs too. I love those.
As well as the granola that you vacuum sealed for me.
Yes, that is one of my favorite preps because I bought that bag of granola at like a Big Lots, and I got a giant 5-pound bag. It was only a handful, and I actually used it to make like 4 different get home safe bags. I just vacuum sealed it. That's going to last forever. It gives you that calories. It gives you that energy that's going to help you get home. These survival tabs, I absolutely love these things. They have all your vitamins, all your nutrients. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. It says right here on the pack, this pack of 24 chewable tablets, the survival tabs, are meant to keep you alive and going for 48 hours. This could be stretched out to 98 hours in extreme conditions. Nice. And looking at mine, it says on mine, best if used by 2040. So we're going to get
25 years. Yeah.
You know, we're going to get some lifetime out of this, which is just absolutely awesome. You know, I got mine. What are mine? Mine are strawberry. What ones did I pack for you, Mr. Alton James?
I think they was the same. 1 second. But the thing that's great, even though it said the best buy date on there by 2040, it is 25 years, and it says it right there at the top, 25-year shelf life.
That's awesome, man.
I mean, you can't beat that, especially if you're talking about buying things now, and obviously you don't want an emergency to happen, but at least you know it's going to be good for the next 25 years.
Exactly, and you know, they make them flavorful. Now, I have opened up a bag and I've eaten them. They're not the best, right? No. We're not getting a gourmet dinner here, but they do have some flavor. They got a little bit of sweetness to them. So, you know, they'll do the trick if in an emergency situation. But again, when you're focused and you need that strength and you need that energy to keep going, this is it. And I threw them in my bag, mine about 5 years ago. I threw them in the bag, and now I can just forget about them because, like you said, that 25-year shelf life is key. So now that's one thing that I don't need to worry about. You can get 4 packs on Amazon. You can go to Survival Tabs website, and you know, just such an awesome thing to have, along with adding some of your own stuff. I have some of these awesome. These are from the dollar store, and I absolutely love these. These are just little trail mix, these foods. You know, break time. I got one that has protein. It's got all your raisins and nuts and everything. I absolutely love these little trail mix. These were from the dollar store, right? I take them. The shelf life on these is a couple years. I think these ones are still good until 2022. Yep, 2022. So again, I purchased these about a year ago. I got them from the dollar store. I take them, I throw them in my bag, and I just forget about them. I don't need to worry about rotating them out, you know, every single month, and they're great. I know they're there if I have to. They're great treats for kids because they got dark chocolate, they got raisins. So if you do have kids or a picky eater, you got those thrown in your bags and you're not worried about them. Now, we've talked pretty extensively about the water. Now, I know a lot of people, the big thing right now are those life straws. Have you seen those, Alton?
I have, yeah. I have some.
Yeah, I got a couple too. I love them. You know, they filter. Some of them filter up to like 100,000 gallons of water. It's amazing, right? It's amazing. It's such a cool technique that you can do this. That you can literally like drink out of a puddle of dirty water, and you're getting clean water on the other end. But you do still have to remember that you have to find that water. So I still like to have water on my possession. Now, a lot of people store water bottles, and if you're anything like us here in Michigan, water bottles, when they freeze, there's a chance that the plastic will crack. The plastic on those water bottles is really bad for weather change. You know, from going to hot to cold. If it gets hot, they can get moldy sitting in your car for a long time. So what I found online is emergency purified drinking water. And these are just 2 different ones that I have bought.
Nice.
You know, these are just 2 different companies. There's really no difference. They got about a 5 to 10 year shelf life, and because they're in these packs where they're not clear, they're solid. You can see in here, you're not going to get, you know, the mold and the bacteria and stuff. You can just take them, you can put them in. I have kept these in my car like year round. I've never, knock on wood, I've never had them freeze on me yet.
Great.
You know, because they're tucked inside my backpack, so there's still some warmth and everything. And I keep them in there. I like to keep anywhere from 2 to 3 of them per family member. So I have 4 people in my family. I have right now, I have two of them, so I have 8 inside of my get home safe bag. For me, having those, is key. I also have in my get home safe bag, I have one of the little filter straws, like you said too. So if that water does run out, and every time I leave the house, I always grab like a water bottle or something, anyways. So I'm gonna have that on top of what I have in my get home safe bag. And I got you the same waters too, didn't I?
I do have the same ones in there. Now, one of the things that's so interesting, we talked about food, we talked about water. Obviously, those are the things that sustain us. But I love the tool that you included in here, this knife. And the reason why I love it so much, obviously, it's got spring action so you can easily open it.
Exactly.
But it has the glass breaker in there on the very bottom end. It is so key. If you're in your car and something happens and you need to get out of your car,
yeah,
most likely you're not going to be able to bust a window open by yourself.
It's
but
hard.
having
It's a
this
lot of work.
Is amazing, and it's so interesting.
And you also look too, that other little hook too that you have on there is for slicing open your seatbelt. I don't know if you noticed that. So that's cute too,
And that right there.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
I just went over this earlier with my wife. Earlier this afternoon, I said, hey, this is in your bag. If anything ever happens, remember, there's a glass breaker on this end. And just to be mindful, just to reiterate, one of the things that's interesting and important too is for us to formulate plans and talk to our family members and friends about what our plans are. Because one of the things that I love so much that you included in my bag, which I've actually put within a Faraday cage bag.
I love that. I love that you did that.
which is an EMP shielding bag, is this awesome flashlight. So it's another tool. So we talked about food and water, but obviously a knife is a great tool. It's going to do a lot of different things. If it's got a seatbelt cutter, glass breaker, important for the transportation side. But this flashlight operates by a photovoltaic cell, a solar panel, as I love them because I have them in my home. But it also operates by mechanical energy. You just turn it and it charges up the battery and you're good to go. So,
and I believe 1 minute of crank time is going to give you 3 to 5 minutes of shine time, which is awesome. I'm so jealous that I found this for you and I put that in your, because I'm still rocking the old school flashlight, making sure I got power here. Mine does have, different settings, and it has the emergency flashlight, which is cool. I always keep 2. I have one that I usually keep. So I always have stuff in my center console. I already mentioned how I always have a pocket knife on me. I also have a pocket knife in my get home safe bag just in case something happens and I do forget one. But I also keep one inside of my center console that has the glass breaker and the seatbelt cutter. So it's right there in my center console in case I am in an accident and I need to reach in and I don't have to reach for the bag and stuff. So my favorite saying, 3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none. So I like to have the different options, especially at my disposal where I can reach. So I do carry 2 flashlights. This one has the batteries in it, ready to go. That is usually in my center console, and I'm ready to go. I am also a security officer, so I work out of my vehicle, and so I like to have access to all of that stuff. But I also keep one in my get home safe bag. And when I purchased this one, again, real cheap. I got this at, I believe it was like a Walmart or something like that. When I purchased it, I actually left the little plastic piece in there that protects the battery so I'm not getting corrosion. So this has actually never been used as, but I keep it. Also on my center console, I do have 3 AA batteries, which is, what I would need for my flashlight. So I keep those in my center console too. Fire starter, very, very, very important because that can also be used as light, that can be used as warmth. And I mean, we are not cavemen, and I can tell you right now, my kids the other night, I don't know if you looked out your window and saw, they wanted s'mores.
No, I saw your post about it though.
Yeah, so they wanted some s'mores, and so Daddy to the rescue. I decided to make them a little bonfire. Let me tell you, I tried to do it the old school style, and when I say old school, I mean like some like sticks and a lighter. I couldn't imagine like rubbing sticks together and trying to get fire. Like how they did that is absolutely amazing. But I like to make it easy for myself. A couple different options that you can have is you can purchase fire starter. This is very simple. There's a lot of different options. You can get the little like bars that are highly flammable. You can get the thing of, the pouches like what you see here. These are a little bit pricey. It's like watching money burn if you do have to light it up. That's why I don't use it in my bonfires and stuff. It is in my emergency kit. There's quite a bit in here. I could probably make a couple fires, but this is pretty simple. You throw it in there, you light it on fire, you're good to go, right? There's not a lot to it. But also, I have a little egg carton that I cut, and it's filled with dryer lint. Now, dryer lint is very flammable. So that is another option. You can just save your dryer lint. Remember, we were talking the one time about how I save dryer lint. I got bags of dryer lint.
Exactly.
And I love to make these because I always throw them in people's get home safe bags and their bug out bags and stuff. Just make little ones just like that. You can also dip them in wax to preserve them and stuff like that. But I like having mine out in the open. Also, another dollar store purchase, little tea light candles, right? You can get like 10 of them for $1 at your, everyday dollar store. Little tea light candles. I keep a couple of them in there. It's going to give me light if I do have to stay out. Even if I have to stay inside my vehicle overnight in a snowstorm or something, I can light this up to get a little bit of extra light, preserve my battery on my flashlight. But also I could put this underneath a couple leaves and stuff, and that'll help me start a fire. As for actually starting the fire, there's a lot of different options. I have waterproof matches in the case, nice strike case that came with it. I have the flint that comes on one of my pocket knives that you can pull out, which guys, keep following us, man, because let me tell you, we got
Giveaway.
This awesome knife. We got this awesome knife as a giveaway, man. This thing is going to be super sweet to help you guys start one of your get home safe bags. Check out this knife right here, man. This knife is awesome, spring loaded. It's going to open up right for you. It's got the paracord right in. It's got an emergency whistle and a fire strike. Start a fire right there, man. So I also have a pocket knife that has the flint on it. But carrying a Bic lighter or any kind of lighter is super important. I love to have options, so I got the matches, I got the lighter, and everything else. You just want to have options. 3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none.
Exactly. And so it's amazing. I'm so glad you showed that because I got so inspired when you said, oh, we're going to do this as a giveaway. And I said, you know what? I actually want to add that to my everyday carry. So I went and ordered that same knife. And just talking about these things, I learned so much from you, and I know you said the same thing, but my everyday carry is now going to be including that knife as well as a multi-tool. I'm just going to have those on me at all times because I just want to have those options. It just goes back to what you said. One is none, and only having one option always scares me. So.
Yeah, exactly. As I was just talking about the matches, I also got my little lighter here. This is a nice little butane, always lights for me. It's there. It's also got a couple other options. It's got a bottle opener. It's got a little corkscrew. It's also got a little tiny pocket knife. Not that I really use that for much, but it is there. And that's just another option that I just, keep throwing inside the bag. It doesn't take up a lot of space. Once again, I'm a pocket knife fanatic. I do got the old school Swiss Army knife that's got all the tools, the scissors. I love having that in the bag. Again, if I had to reach in for a knife, this probably isn't going to be the knife that I'm going to reach in for, but it does have scissors. It does have, the little saw. It does have, a screwdriver on it. So just another one of the tools. Speaking of screwdriver, I do carry a big screwdriver, a real thick, nice one. I actually took this out of my grandfather's shed after he passed away. Just a little memory of him. Didn't really know what I was going to do with it. Decided to put it in my get home safe bag. Again, If you got to get through a fence and you're trying to pull that down, you can use this to pry. That's why I wanted to make sure that I had a real thick, strong one. This is an old school Craftsman. So, I didn't really know what I was going to do with it when I took it as a memory. I put it in my get home safe bag, and now it's there if I need it. It's just one of those tools. I can use it as a screwdriver, if I got to work on the car battery or something. But it's also there if I have to pry.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the handle, a lot of times if you have a knife or you have some other kind of tool, it's metal all the way through. And if you have to deal with anything electrical, you want the handle to not be metal. You want it to be something that's non-conductive. So if you have to mess with electrical, at least you have a little bit of safety there, that you're not going to take that shock that just the metal from that long screwdriver will. And I've got a few of those too. They're great. They're excellent. They have a lot of weight to them. You can
throw one inside that little bag there we made for you.
Will do. I've got tons of them.
Here's my Mylar bags. I know we threw some. It's you, your wife, and your son. So I believe we put 3 Mylar bags. I got 4 in mine, and I actually put in a 5th one that if we needed be, you can open it up and kind of use it as a little bit of a tarp. If you were outside and it started snowing or raining, you can take it. You can tie it up with paracord on a tree. And put an extra one. We'll have to get you another one because I believe we put 3 and we should get you another one. And you got to
get another one because you got to take care of those dogs.
Oh my God. I just leave those home. Those will be your problem. Those will be your problem if I don't come home.
Got to hop the fence and grab them. All right.
That's fine. So we're sitting in the middle of the pandemic. It's 2020. So just recently at the start of all of this, I went out, got my face masks. We are required here in Michigan to wear them when we go into stores. But not only just that, just having them again in case there is some kind of terrorist attack, or if there's anything in a situation where, maybe there are breathing hazards or something. Again, I keep 2 for every member of my family just in case the one gets ruined. I like to have an extra. So I carry 8 of them. I got 2 for every member of the family. They're a new ad. It was something that I didn't, think about right away. And, with all of this, I was like, I got to grab my mask. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw some extra ones. Good luck finding them right now. But if you do find them, I know they're starting to become more repopulated in the stores. But if you can get some, grab a box. These ones were actually from a long time ago. I did purchase them and from a dollar store. They're the medical ones. They're not as good as the N95s, but they are an option. At least it's better than nothing. I can throw them over top if I had to and wear them. And now I have it in case I have to go to a store on the fly and I have to wear them. Another thing that you want to have, whatever state you live in, get yourself a state map. It's really important. Get yourself a state map. Number one, if you're driving and you get lost, I was telling you that story that one time I had to drive through the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. We were driving, my signal went out on my Google Maps. I was literally lost in the Smoky Mountains trying to find my hotel.
Oh man.
I had no clue where I was, man. So get yourself a map. And if you are going to travel, if you're going to do a really significant drive, maybe look into getting a U.S. road maps or something. They're pretty expensive, but you can get one of those books. I do have a Michigan road map that I keep in my car. So you want to get one of those. I got you an awesome bracelet that has a compass built right in, which is awesome. If not, get yourself a compass. But what did I do with my cool bracelet? I don't want you to show us yours. Yeah, so that one has
it's a green bracelet. It clips right on. Very
made out
thick,
of paracord.
Very thick paracord. It also has the slicer tool on there, so you can cut it to whatever size you need. There's the compass. It's very small. It's built right into the latch. And Bobby, why don't you tell them what's inside of the paracord?
So there's a lot of different stuff that you can have inside the paracord. I lost mine. I got so much stuff here. I don't even know where my... Oh, here it is. So here's my bracelet. I got a nice black one right here. So you got the whistle, the emergency whistle that, once you unbuckle it, you can, you can blow it. I'm not going to do it because my kids are upstairs sleeping and the wife would kill me.
Yep.
But mine has fishing line and fishing hooks right inside of it. So in an emergency situation, if I actually take this apart, inside there are stuff so that I can go fishing. I mean, how cool is that?
Definitely.
And it's lightweight. I mean, this wouldn't be a problem to wear. Yours has a compass on it. You can go on and just look up tactical bracelets, survival bracelets. And this one's called the survival bracelet, and you can see all the cool things right on there. If you're watching us on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, they just load these things up. There's 1,000 different ones out there that you can get, and they're super cool. But the paracord's important. Just like I said, if you have a tarp or if you have an extra one of the Mylar blankets and you want to tie it up and put it from tree to tree and give yourself a little bit more shelter, that's awesome. It's just another option to have. Paracord is super important. Moving on, another thing that you want to keep. Remember I talked about earlier about putting in those extra shoes, especially if you have dress-up shoes or for our wives. Put in an extra pair of socks. I don't know if you've ever walked around in soggy socks, but that is the worst feeling in the world.
It's also a hazard.
It is. Yeah, you start getting blisters on your feet. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be a horrible walk. So that pair of socks, these are an old pair of socks. They're my Sunday socks because they're holy. But instead of throwing them away, I took them, I folded them up, and I just threw them in my bag. And I do carry an extra pair for my kids and everything else. So I make sure I got 4 pairs of socks inside my bag, and so that way everybody has. Again, live in Michigan, so 'tis the season. If you need gloves, I keep winter gloves for everybody. I make sure that my kids have winter hats. Dressing appropriately when you leave. I know, dude, I make the mistake all the time. It's the middle of winter and I'm like, I just got to run my kids to school. And I take my kids to school in December wearing shorts. And it's like, it's no big deal because my kid's school is a mile away. But if I made that mistake and then, found myself 10 minutes, from my house and I got to walk in shorts, it just doesn't make sense. So just taking those extra precautions. Another thing that is super important, and we did forget this in your bag, and I want to make sure I get you one, although you're super techie, so I'm sure you have 100 of them, but you want to make sure you get one of those power banks for your phone.
Nice, yeah.
A nice little USB. I like to keep mine charged. I have about 8 of these. But one of the purchases that I have, and you actually saw me using it the other day when I was out there working on my garden, is I got myself this sweet nifty little one, and this was on Amazon. It was not really that expensive. It doesn't look like anything fancy, but let me show you. You open this up. Mr. Alton James, what are those?
Man, solar panels. Love
That
it.
is it, man. And I thought it was so cool. This is my only experience with solar panels right now.
There you go.
But it will charge 2 phones. You can also fully charge it by plugging it into the wall. So I like to make sure that I have a full charge at all times. And it's super simple. I mean, it's got a power button you hit, you plug in your phone, and you let it rip. I can take it. I can flip it onto the back of my backpack while I'm walking. I can, it's going to charge up. Again, I'm not Mr. Solar Panel Man, so that's all you right there. But
It's all
I
good.
was super excited.
But the fact that you brought that up, you're talking about charging your phone. And one of the biggest considerations we need to think about is that maybe we don't have access to our phone. Maybe you get put in a position where your phone breaks or you don't have a signal. And we just got done talking about walkie-talkies. I sent you a link. Hey, these are the walkie-talkies I want to get. That's the next thing I'm adding to my Get Home Safe bag. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to add a couple in your bag. I'm going to add a couple in my bag. And if something were to happen, you didn't have your phone, we still need to be able to communicate. And so the ones that I'm looking at getting for all of us, you included, obviously, and for your folks, has a range of 10 kilometers. So most of us kind of stick around. Your parents live within 10 kilometers of you. My wife, if she's traveling, she'll most likely be within 10 kilometers if she's, just going to her job and coming back. So that's another huge thing, communications. We talked about food, we talked about water, we talked about clothing, we talked about shelter. but communication with other people. And again, we're going to bring home our biggest thing about this podcast is that prepping is nothing without people. People have to be your
I love
biggest
that.
prep.
They
So
do.
think
They
about
really do.
communication, how you can get back in communication with someone that can assist you, that can help you, that can ensure your survival and being able to thrive. So
Exactly. Making sure that you have the necessary pieces, if you do have your cell phone. Now again, if there's something major, like an EMP or something, and we lose complete usage of our cell phone, then it's pretty useless. You don't want to necessarily give it up or anything. Bring it with you. I love your idea of the Faraday bag, man. That is so awesome. I cannot wait to get mine because I'm gonna definitely get one that's gonna fit in my get home safe bag because I love that idea. That is great. Just another thing that I learned from you, man. That is such a great idea. The walkie talkies is a great idea. The one that we got can be used as a walkie talkie and a ham radio. So in an emergency situation, we're hoping we can get in touch with somebody, anybody to get help, to get assistance. And I'm sure once you get it, you're going to have that stored up in your Faraday bag too.
yeah, I have ham radios now,
Yeah,
but
I know.
the thing is I have them stored away here at home, and I didn't consider putting them in a get home safe bag, but I think you've now convinced me that I'm going to go get some more
Well, and you really
and add
did.
them
You
to
did
my
a lot
get
of
home safe bag.
you did a lot of research and you found a great deal on eBay where you can get I think it was like 10 of them for a really good price. And so I mean, me and you are a little extraordinary, so we're going to keep them in our house, in our bags. We're also getting some for our parents and for a couple of our friends that live in the, close proximity. But, you can find a deal like that. And again, we keep preaching how important it is to build a network of people is, maybe talk to your neighbor or your parents or your friends and stuff and say, hey, I found this great deal. Don't bid on the one that we're trying to win. Go find
Right.
your own. But get a good deal like that and throw in on it together. And that's so important with the neighborhood prepper mentality is not isolating yourself away from people, but instead coming together. And with what you just said, making sure that if you are taking a drive someplace that might not be reachable on a just a singular walk, making sure that you've had communications with somebody, like telling a parent, telling a significant other, telling a friend, like, yeah man, I got to drive out to so and so location today. I'm going to be gone for like 3 hours. Right? So that way, if something does happen, you're on the top of their mind. Well, if you had to make a drive and let's say, your wife was busy with Ethan and all these other things, and you just shot me a message and it was like, man, I got to drive out to Lansing today. And all of a sudden, we have some kind of massive terrorist attack or anything, just a car breakdown, and your wife calls me and is like, hey, did you talk to Alton today?
Yeah.
Man, the last time I talked to him, he told me he was going out to Lansing. He's got a couple-hour drive. At least we have a starting point to start looking,
Exactly.
So that communication is key. You don't have to call and check in or anything, but if you're making a significant drive out of the ordinary, just shooting a message to somebody that knows you, somebody that cares, that somebody's going to look out and again, so if something does happen in that immediate time, and that's something I do teach with my self-defense is, that communication, making sure people know where you are, practicing it. We talked about our backpacks. If you notice, we both have very plain backpacks. I always try to pick out just a black backpack. My bug out bag is a little bit different because this was given to me as a gift, but I like to just keep it simple. I don't want to stand out. I don't want a big military backpack because that says I got stuff, right?
Right.
Like I know what I'm doing. And then it makes people attract to you. Also, put it on your back.
Test it
Put it
out.
on your back and go for a walk around the block. And make sure you're not breathing heavy. Make sure you're not huffing and puffing. Make sure it's something that you can actually physically do. I cannot stress this enough. Exercise. be healthy. Do the best you can, because you never know. You never know when you're going to have to loosen that tire, right? You never know when you might have to just, even if you don't have to walk home, you may have to walk to the gas station. Just practice. Get out there, get some fresh air, be healthy. You're going to thank us for it, right? Everything in your life is going to become better. I'm not telling you to, completely give up the sweets and dedicate your whole life. If you can, that's awesome. But, get out, get some fresh air, take a walk. It's going to make you a better person. It's going to change your moods for the better. Anything else to add, man? I think we covered just about everything we got here.
I think so. So I'm going to go back down the list. So we got food,
Yep.
water, shelter, but that also includes blankets, just warmth and comfort and protection. We've got security if we need it. So a knife, but that's also a tool. So tools also to get anything done. We had clothing, so extra pair of flashlight, which is another tool.
Compasses.
Maps, yes, that was the one I forgot about. Maps and compasses, those are huge.
Yeah, and then after that, you start adding stuff. You can just start adding stuff.
Communication, like I mentioned, walkie-talkies, something that will allow you to get in touch with somebody if you need to, and your phone is down.
Power sources. Little things. Think about something that might be important to you that might not be as important to somebody else. Maybe it's a picture that's going to motivate you to get you. Maybe we talked in our first podcast about a deck of cards and stuff like that. Maybe something that that you can sit and do to relax.
Right.
My wife is a big coffee drinker. The first thing she does, she wakes up, she goes gets herself a cup of coffee. So in my bag, I actually took it from the hotel. It's just one of those packs of coffee. It's got a coffee filter and it's got a little bit of coffee grounds. I took it. I threw a pack in mine and a pack in hers. If for any reason we're out there, we wake up in the morning, I can take that little pouch of water. I can fill it with the coffee grounds, pour it through here. She's got herself a nice little cup of cold coffee.
Right.
Cold
coffee.
And again, it's not going to be as good as the hot coffee she makes at home, but at least it's something. It might give her the strength and the energy and the motivation, to maybe walk that 5, 10, 15, 20 miles, and so it's something that she likes. She enjoys having her cup of coffee, and it was nothing. Again, I stayed in a hotel when we were on vacation and they just had that sitting there. We didn't use it. And so I said, I paid for it, so I'm taking this.
Nice.
And I'm one of those guys, I take the shampoos, the soaps, everything. I got a whole box in there of all those.
And those are good things to put away for prepping.
Yeah, exactly, man. Tell us what we got for next week, man. I'm super excited.
Next week, we're getting into one of those 3 things we talked about, food, shelter, clothing. We're going right to food. So Bobby and I each have different approaches right now as to how we're growing food. Bobby's really focusing right now outside. He's got a great outdoor garden, and I have an indoor garden, so to speak. So grow lights and the whole 9 to make sure that they're growing just fine indoors. So there are different approaches. We're going to get into both. It's a very important part of prepping, thinking about sustainability, thinking about how we can still continue to feed ourselves if we were put in a position where food became scarce. And it's also just another thing it's a great practice. It's a great learning tool. It's a great thing to pass on.
It's relaxing.
And it's relaxing too, definitely. I can't tell you how awesome it is to see the stalks to my potatoes growing and thinking, hey, I'm just going to run downstairs one day, grab a potato, throw it in the air fryer, and have some hash browns just right from the house and not having to go out to go get it. So really excited about that. We'll be bringing that to you in the next episode. I think we're going to sign off now. Is that right now, Mr. Riggs?
It's all set, man. I'm going to go get some sleep. Again, it is Memorial Day, the day we are recording this. So I just want to give a thanks to all those that gave their all for our awesome country. You guys will be getting this podcast a couple days after, but as we sit here recording it, it is Memorial Day. So I didn't want to leave it unsaid. So I don't like saying Happy Memorial Day, but happy holidays to everybody. and especially those who gave their all. So we will reach out to you guys in a couple weeks again. Or not a couple weeks, a couple days. I'm not waiting that long. A couple days we'll be getting back on. And I can't wait, man. Make sure you like, make sure you share. Again, got that sweet pocket knife. If Alton
Gotta
doesn't
subscribe.
steal it,
Gotta
it could be yours.
subscribe.
Gotta subscribe, guys. Thanks a lot for everything, and we will be talking to you soon.
Take care.
Take us out of here.
Hey, you've been listening to Neighborhood Preppers with Alton James and the man himself, Mr. Bobby Riggs Jr. We'll catch you next time. Take care, everybody.
Later.